All right, coming back to these two-step equations, making sure we've got this down, just being careful about your negatives. First thing we want to do is subtract our 17, bring down the 8x, and remember that because these two things are different, that they actually subtract. 17 minus 1 is 16. Because 17 is bigger, you end up with a negative 16. You then divide by 8, and again, whenever the signs are different, you end up with a negative answer, which is negative 2. As you're copying this, again, just make sure you're working to try to understand it. I understand some of you are just copying in general, but just copying really doesn't help. It's not like you have to rush to get to the worksheet so much as anything else. Just make sure you're learning what you need to learn from this stuff so you can do what you need to do. Again, all the stuff that's on this sheet is important at some point, so getting it down faster is going to be better for you. Adding 6 because it was minus 6. These two are different, so you subtract to make 10. 16 is bigger, so it's a negative 10. Bringing down to 5, dividing by 5, getting the final answer of x equals negative 2. Once again, combining like terms, 5 minus 2 is 3x. Bring down your minus 2 and your 7, and from there, everything else stays the same. And that's it. 6 minus 1 is 5. Again, remember that's 1x, so 6 minus 1 is 5. Bring down to plus 4. And your negative 11. When you go to subtract 4 this time, notice that both of these are the same sign, both negatives, which means they actually work together. Just like if you had 11 negatives and 4 negatives, you end up with 15 negatives. Either way, when you divide by 5, because you have 15 negatives shared with 5 people, everybody gets 3 negatives, or however you want to view that problem for yourself. Don't forget, again, whenever you have a variable on both sides, that you move the smaller one to the larger one, and everything else stays the same exactly as it is. You then move your 3 the way we've been trained to move the 3, getting the final answer of x is equal to 5. On the next one, again, smaller x, these are on both sides, so smaller x means subtract your 5x from both sides. 4 comes down, 3x comes down, minus 11 comes down. Now we move the minus 11 by putting plus 11. Getting 15 equals 3x, and again, from there, everything else takes care of itself. Once again, make sure if your x is actually on the right side that you try to keep it on the right side. That format's going to help, especially in Chapter 3 next year, whenever you get into inequalities where you have to keep everything formal and kind of lined up, kind of like what we're doing with our proofs right now. You've got to really follow the standard format of everything, and that's really where a lot of people get lost. Don't forget, on number 7, we multiply by 4, but that both of these 4s cancel, bringing down 3x and 24, and then you divide by 3, getting x is equal to 8. Don't forget with this that you multiply by 7, meaning both of these 7s go away, giving us 2x equals 28. You then divide both sides by 2, getting 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 8 4 times. There you go, 14. On number 9, 20 is the number we use for 4 and 5. Don't forget, every single number gets multiplied by 20, not just 2 of them. Every number has to get treated the same. 20 divided by 4 is 5. 20 divided by 5 is 4. 5 times 3 turns into 15x. 4 times 2 turns into 8. 1 times 20 turns into 20. And from there, you work this out as usual. This just so happens to be one that I'll actually reduce from what I'm seeing, because when you put 12 over 15, the one thing we want to understand is that 12 and 15 both can be divided by 3, which means that turns into 4 over 5 in the end. 12 divided by 3 is 4, 15 divided by 3 is 5, and that would be your stopping point. But again, as I told you on my assessment, you're not going to get marked wrong for that. As long as you can show all those steps, you'll be fine. 4/5 x plus 1/2 equals 3. 5 and 2 meet at 10. And so what we want to do, again, 10 divided by 5 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 2 times 4 turns into 8. 5 times 1 turns into 5. 10 times 3 is 30. And from there, again, you just go ahead and do what we've been trained to do. And that's it. Here, 10 minus 1 parentheses first. Exponent second. Please make sure that this brainwashing that we're trying to put you through actually pays off. Just remember that when you do 1/3 times 81, it's 81 divided by 3. And if you don't know what it is, go off to the side and do 81 divided by 3. That's what we're working on it for. 3 goes into 8 twice. 3 goes into 21 7 times. So it's 27 divided by 3, because that's what we just did. And 27 divided by 3 is 9. The reason we want to work on this is so that if we get caught up in a situation like that without a calculator, we actually know how to work our way through it. And then 192 divided by 2. 2 goes into, doesn't go into 1, but it goes into 19 9 times with 1 left over. 2 goes into 12 6 times with nothing left over. Or as I said, if you're going to do it this way, 2 goes into 19 9 times with 1 left over. 2 goes into 12 6 times. Either way, 96 is your final answer. Make sure you try to work on getting one of those things done the proper way. After that, we're going to get into our second type of lesson for this week. Yesterday, hopefully it was easy for you for the most part. The only requirement really was that you slow down and focus on the formatting of the proof, and then work on making sure you can visually identify side, 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 which actually should be the easiest one to identify because all 3 sides are marked on the picture. So what we did was we looked at this thing. I don't think this is on the back side of your sheet yet, but just following along. And I'll put this area here where we can see it, but we had statements and reasons. And the first thing we learned to do was to write our givens. So JL is congruent to GI. The reason for that is because it was given to us. And so what you want to do is mark those. Then we had KJ congruent to HG. And again, the reason for that is because it was given to us. So KJ, second side, to HG, second side. There we go. And then the third point to us was that KL is congruent to HI. And again, the reason for that is because it was given to us. KL is this side, and HI is this side. Sorry, that's 4 of them. And so remembering that our overall point was to prove the triangle's congruent, also remembering that nothing in here was meant to trick you or be puzzling at all. We pretty much have what we need. You notice all 3 sides are marked, and so it would be side, side, side. And so that means we can say that triangle HGI is congruent to triangle KJL, and the reason is side, side, side. So that was pretty easy yesterday, just because, again, when all the sides are marked, everything kind of falls into place and it's easy to look at. But today we're going to look at the second possible way to prove triangles are congruent, and it's called side angle side. So if 2 sides and what we call the included angle of a triangle are congruent, then the triangles are also congruent. The key here is in recognizing the order of the letters. Yesterday was a solid way to introduce you to the topic, but it was simple to notice that all 3 sides are congruent. That's why side, side, side is so easy. That's why you really shouldn't have an issue dealing with it, because, you know, I mean, if all 3 are there, you know it's side, side, side. But in this case, you'll have 2 sides marked. You just have to learn to identify the proper angle. And the word included angle means that we're looking for the angle that is created by 2 sides. So when you're looking for the included angle, here's 2 sides. You have this side that's marked. You have this side that's marked. And notice that it makes that angle. This is an included angle. That works. All right. These 2 sides have the angle in between. Notice you go side, angle, side as you go around. All right. So it goes side, angle, side as you go around that triangle. Here, when you're looking at it, again, you have 2 sides, and notice these 2 sides lead to a point. That point is the angle we're looking at. So once again, those 2 sides do have an included angle. Actually, no, not both of them. This one does. This one does not, because notice that those 2 sides lead to this point, and so that is not an included angle. So again, when you're looking at that stuff, that's what you're looking at. 2 sides leading to a point in the middle. Notice that to get here, I'd have to go side, angle, then skip a side and come back around, whereas here I go side, angle directly to the other side. Here I go side, angle directly to the other side. Same thing here, side, angle directly to the other side. Looking at this one, this does not go side, angle, and directly to the other side, because that would be here. It's down here, which means that this is not. Neither is this, because again, these 2 sides meet here, not here, so that's not it either. But again, notice side, side, there's your angle in the middle, so that one is, and also with this one as well. The two sides meet here, and so that is what we want. All right, so the key thing to know is that the sides and the angle that you have should be the two sides and the angle that go here. It should not be this side, that side, and one of these two angles, because those two angles are not formed. They need that side there. All right, so again, part of your work is going to be identifying that, but the good news is, as I said, we're not trying to trick you into that, but again, it's just you want to make sure you learn what it looks like. It's easier to work with that way. Again, you won't be tricked by any problem. We're not going to give you anything that's going to be off. Now, we might ask you to do some things on the worksheet that make you think a little bit, but in terms of like assessments and things like that, you're not going to see something that looks like side angle side but is not side angle side. For the most part, if you see two sides and one angle, it's probably going to be side angle side. So just be sure to keep practicing the proper way to format your proof so you can put yourself in a position to succeed. So these, I believe, are in the back, so I'm going to go ahead again and put this somewhere where we can actually see it. The first thing we want to do is put down AC congruent to EC, and that's because it was given. AC is this piece, EC is that piece, so that works. 2, AB congruent to DE, again that was given. So AB, which is this part, congruent to DE, which is this part. And then the third is angle A congruent to angle E, was also given. I saw a lot of people not putting the numbers, but those numbers have to be there because at some point some of the words you might move beyond the line, and whoever is reading it needs to line it up. Bottom line here is angle A congruent to angle E. There's your A, there's your E. And then now notice these two sides lead to that angle. These two sides lead to that angle, which means we have side angle side. And that is more than enough for us to say triangle ABC congruent to triangle EDC. And the reason for that is side angle side. Again, you've got to be careful. If you put side, side, side there, you'd actually be wrong. And that's where you've got to start making sure you work on reading what the picture says and getting used to it. That's why I've been trying to tell you to make sure you mark the picture up, so that way you know what you're looking at. Again, side, side, side would look like, let me draw this. Side, side, side would look like this, because that's three sides. This is two sides and an angle, which means it has to be side angle side. All right. Here, again, statements, reasons. Statement number 1, GK is congruent to GK. That is given. There will actually be another reason for that when you get into it, but a line is always going to be congruent to itself. You'll notice I use 2 marks because this is already marked with 1. They also have GJ congruent to GM, which is that one there that they already did. And then they have angle JGK congruent to angle MGK. And so that would also be given. Let's find JGK, and this is why naming them is important. JGK is here. MGK is here. And so when you look at that, you've got your side, your angle, your side, side, angle, side going that way also. So therefore we have enough to say in this problem that triangle KJG is congruent to triangle KMG, and again it's because of two sides and an angle, so it would be side, angle, side in that case. Once again, when you get to geometry, they will try to trick you a little bit more than that. They'll probably put the angle over here or put the angle down there and hope that you think it's side angle side, but that's not what we're here for. We are here for the format, and we're here to help you kind of get used to working through it, so that as you get to that part, you'll at least have some experience with it, and it won't be nearly as confusing as what it seems. In this one, we have, again, statements and reasons. 1, MN congruent to PQ, given. So MN, PQ, there you go. Statement number 2, MO congruent to PR, that's also given. MO to PR. And then we have angle M congruent to angle P, that is also given. So M congruent to P. And when you look at this again, notice you've got two sides, not three, so this isn't side, side, side. It would be two sides with the included angle, because notice both of these sides lead to that angle. And so therefore we'd be able to say in the next one that triangle MNO is congruent to triangle PQR because of side, angle, side, not side, side, side. That would be if all three were there, it would be side, angle, side. All right. So with that being the case, it's important that you slow down. I don't believe, again, that the thought process is difficult. We aren't making this up to make you have to think a lot. It's just for you to kind of get used to the process of reading, copying, using the proper reasons, making sure you use the right words. If you take advantage of this time to practice working out the problems correctly, it'll definitely help you out later on. Just remember, again, practice doesn't make perfect, it makes permanent. So whatever you're doing when you practice is what you're going to do by habit, because that's the habit that you built for yourself. So if you're taking shortcuts now, you're not going to be able to fix those shortcuts on the quiz. You're going to make the shortcuts on the quiz. You're going to miss points, and it's going to hurt you later on either way. But just take your time, and again, ask for help as you need it outside of that, and talk to you later, and good luck.